I would love for you both to talk about the genesis and mission of Sparks and Wiry Cries. What were you seeing and talking about in the field at that time that led to this idea?
Too many people saying that art song was dying or dead.
It's a good reason.
We were really annoyed by that.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
seemed really inaccurate and kind of cold hearted. Um, and it wasn't our experience and it wasn't the experience of our friends. And so we just started with that podcast sharing the music that we loved and with recordings by friends who we loved. Um, and it grew from there. And yeah, I think our mission it's taken a long time to come into focus. It's
Mhm.
been just over 10 years. Was it 11, 12 now? And I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, it's come into focus in a really particular way through the Song Slam and the Song Slam Festival.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had not until I knew I was doing this interview heard of Song Slam, and it's really exciting. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what it is specifically and what you do there?
Yeah. So we were, as a young organization that is looking to sort of see how they can, how we can, fill an audience, get people interested in what you're doing. We were looking for ways to engage an audience, and as you do, you sort of turn outwards. What are the other things that should be drawing art song audiences in? And so, of course, poetry is like the natural thing, of course. But poetry is it's a solitary pursuit, and so. And so we were thinking, well, there's slam poetry, right? And those are
Yeah.
intimate events where often, not always, but often it's a competition. It's usually a first come, first serve in terms of sign up. And so we kind of modeled it on that. Except that, so what we decided was that it would be, so first come, first served, and teams of singer, pianist, composer, and sometimes poet. There would be a little bit of money, but that the audience got to decide those prizes and that there were no barriers. So there is not a jury in a sense. There is not, except for your audience, and you can pack the halls if you feel like it. And it is essentially what we found was that by removing those barriers and by making it a community event, that there was so much more collaborative spark that came out of that, not just on the evening where the energy gets really high, but moving forward, new collaborations, new ideas, just people who really just were getting involved in their regional event.
That's so cool. I just think that's such a neat idea. I think we should have a song slam in Bloomington, a
Yeah.
Jacob song slam. That would be so cool. So, you've already done such really, really cool things. But what do you hope to accomplish moving forward, looking forward with Sparks and Wiry Cries?
I think that our goals remain simple in terms of telling great stories. But I also think that we are interested in understanding um, how we can better reflect the actual cultural makeup of this country, and to tell stories that are relevant to now, and to tell those stories with the people for whom they are relevant.
Right.
And that means a really wide swath of. I mean, it means that we get to be extremely broad. And the great thing about art song is that in those 3 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it is, that's where you can go so really deep. And so I see opportunity everywhere in that.
So, because it is so accessible and adaptable, art song as an art form, it offers a really incredible and unique opportunity for the advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our field. Can you talk about what Sparks and Wiry Cries has done in this area and any opportunities or openings you see for other performers, collaborators, and presenters to do the same?
It's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah, And I think that art song has this really unique uh, ability to do this now,
Mhm.
because it's like, let's get down to it. It is not that expensive to produce art song.
Right.
It is not that difficult to pivot when you're talking about two people on stage. It's not. Yeah, it must be done truly.
Yeah. As we move past COVID, innovation is how we present innovation in how we present and perform art song is going to be crucial. What would be some of your hopes and aspirations for art song in the next 10 years?
I mean, we can pivot directly from what Martha just said. I think that among our aspirations as an organization or goals to um, really make our stages look like our community,
Mm-hmm.
and have that representation as part of our what we're realizing with our mission, so that we're, enabling performers of many backgrounds to tell stories from their backgrounds, and to tell them in a way that's poignant and relevant today. So I think that's we'll continue to do that, and undoubtedly we'll continue to. With this past January, we had a festival and we started to experiment with virtual presentation, and I think that those skills will remain with us in whatever combination is possible going forward. We, of course, will always value live performance, and we want to return to that as soon as we can. But we've also seen the power of a really well produced video and the reach that it has that a live performance doesn't. And so if we can find ways to do both going forward, that's I think where we're going to focus our energy.
Yeah.
I think if I can add just something else, we have
Please.
also a real opportunity with the Art Song magazine as well, there, because we can look both ways. And so while we present new work, or we can then show how it ties in. We can contextualize. We can show and showcase the experts in this music that perhaps others were not aware of, and show how all of this ties in not just this kind of let's be new way, or let's do something new, but to say, no, this is actually what it has been all along. um, we just weren't looking in the right places sometimes.
Yeah. I would like to ask both of you if you could pick, and it's so hard to say just pick one. So if you want to pick like two or however many, just I mean 2 to 4, I don't know. Sort of standard songs or cycles that we see done a lot that is a favorite of yours, and then maybe a newer piece that you're hoping will find its way into more concert halls and recitals. So an old standard and a new friend.
Well, standard.
Hmm.
Well, I'll go first. So Winterreise, of course, as an old standard and a journey that I think feels really real right now, is kind of like losing our minds as we journey through a long winter. I think we've all just done that,
Yeah.
and so that feels really relevant right now. And I would say that I hope we just commissioned a piece this year that features the words of Jessica Caremore, a poet from Detroit, and the title is Ramadan 20 versus COVID-19. And it was written on the first day of Ramadan last year, and it just is a story of that moment and of life going on despite everything that was challenging it in that moment. And I hope that piece gets told again, and gets told again soon and in person,
Mm-hmm.
because even if we're looking back already now a year to that moment, it's still very much something that we're still processing. So to hear that again a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, this pandemic will have left a big mark in our lives.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
I'd like to see that piece performed more. Oh, I forgot to mention the
And
composer,
what about you?
Andrew
Oh, yes.
Stanneland. Andrew Stanneland set
Okay.
Jessica Caremore's words.
Yeah, I find this question exceptionally difficult, and I will definitely, um, yeah, there's just no way.
Sorry.
But no, it's fine. Okay, so old standards that have been with me like my entire career, I would say Suleika's first Schubert, the Schubert
Mm-hmm.
setting of Marianne von Willemer's words. And there are too many more contemporary pieces. I think a piece that Erika and I have done and come back to a number of times that is, I always think is really impactful on an audience, but also I find personally satisfying and impactful, is a piece by Leslie Uyeda, who is also a Canadian composer, but from the West Coast this time, called The Great Sea. And it uh, it takes the words of an Inuit poet, Uvavnuk, and it's like an incantation, and it's extremely powerful, and I love it deeply.